Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dev Show. I'm extremely excited to bring you an interview with somebody that you may recognize.
They made a tender offer we can't ignore.
Why wasn't I told?
The last thing they want is a power struggle with entrenched management.
Yeah, that's him in Spider-Man 1 alongside Norman Osborn. I'm going to be interviewing Jack Betts, also known as Hunt Powers. Without further ado, Jack Betts. First of all, has things been during this time for you? Everybody has kind of their own story, but how has it unfolded for you?
Well, I think, which has also been my philosophy of life, Kevin, is that creativity is my lifeline. And as long as I have that going for me, I can be anywhere in the world. And it can be any situation, as long as I have that. Because all my life I've been able to either sing, act, or write. And I've done all of them all over the world. And the thing that I'm working on now during this particular period is a screenplay of one of the plays that I have produced. I've produced, not produced, but I've done, 5 of my plays have been done here in Hollywood. I had a different title for it when I had the play. It was called It Goes Like This. But now I've changed the title to The Two of Me. And one of my point being is that that's keeping me going and active. I've done the play. Now I'm doing rewrites on it. And I'm also working on my autobiography. That's on the side. And so that keeps me busy as much as possible.
Time has changed the business of acting, and when you were younger, there was no internet video editions. What was it like getting around from gig to gig back then?
I was raised primarily in New York. I mean, I was raised in Miami, Florida, till I was about 10 years old. And then I graduated University of Miami. And then I went to New York. And that was 1955, 56. And what actors did then at that particular time was make what they call make the rounds. And you would have your photograph. And as a matter of fact, I have one here, the photograph of me, you know. I bring this photograph with my resume all typed on the back. And you would go to every stage manager, every casting director, every agent, and go there every day and say, you know, I'm signing in, could I possibly see the agent? And they would usually always say, no, I'm sorry, they're terrible. See, we can't see anybody. See. But you do that every day, rain, sleet, snow, whatever, as long as you're making the rounds, as they used to call them. And that's how everything was done then. And you get your auditions that way. And they had which was, I worked part-time doing it, answering services. And it was called, one of the major ones was called the Hayes Registry. So in other words, when I left my picture there, I left that Hayes Registry telephone number so they could call there anytime, morning, noon, or night, and give me an audition. And every night I would check in with the Hayes Registry and say, are there any calls for me? That's what all the actors had. We didn't have this television and cell phone communication, you know. It was all done vis-a-vis, face to face.
Right, it's a lot more work than it would be
And
today.
even at the theaters, you go around to the theater and leave your picture with the stage manager. That's how I happened to end up finally doing Dracula on Broadway. It took me almost a year to do it, but I was determined when the show opened, I went to see it. And the moment that Frank Langella walked out on stage and said, good evening, that's Dracula, I said to myself, I'm going to play that part someday. And it took me 1 year to get an audition. But I got one. And eventually, I got to do it on Broadway, to stand by for Frank. But that's awesome. My point being, Devin, is that we didn't have any cell phones or any computers to work with. You had to do it on foot.
Yeah.
If you wanted your picture to get around, people to know you're in town or you're an actor, you had to go to the offices. You know, it was difficult. It was difficult, but that was a way of life.
Absolutely, for sure. You are very widely known for spaghetti westerns,
Yes.
as I have researched, and I've watched a few. And so for those watching, because my demographic is a little bit younger, would you be able to kind of talk on the differences between a spaghetti western and just a regular western?
Yes, as a matter of fact, that turned out to be through my agent here, Paul Kroner. Uh, the director came in town and he told my agent, he said, I've been in New York for 3 weeks looking for somebody to star in 3 of my Western films. And my agent, by that time, had shown him some of my television work and everything. And I met this Franco Giraldi, who was the director. And we got along wonderfully. He liked my work, and he said, can you be in Cinecittà in 3 weeks? And he said, do you ride the horse? And I said, oh, yes. I'd never been on a horse in my life.
Oh, really?
No. He said, and do you shoot the gun? I said, yes. As a matter of fact, Franco, last week, I won a first prize in the sharpshooting contest. I've never had a gun in the hand in my life, ever. He said, oh, Benny, I like you. I like your work. I like your television. Can you be in Cinecittà in 3 weeks? And I said, you bet I can. And that was that. Shook hands. Then the first thing I said to myself, I've got to get to my friend who worked at John Wayne's ranch. I went to him and I said, you've got to teach me how to ride a goddamn horse and how to shoot a gun. I'm going to be in Italy 3 weeks starring in this film. And that's how I did. For almost a month, I really learned how to hold a gun and shoot a gun and how to ride a horse. And also my public relations lady at that time she said, you can't go to Italy with the name of Jack Betts. I said, why? She said, they'll call you Giacomo Betts. And she said, we've got to find a better name for you. So she looked in the past history of my family, and on one side she found Powers, and the other side she found Huntington. So she put them together and made it Hunt Powers. And that's, I became known as Hunt Powers, and I went to Italy as Hunt Powers. And the difference that you asked me about is that there were no unions over there in that sense, you know. And the stuntmen, they weren't stuntmen. They were just Italians who wanted to be actors, and they would do anything. If the director said, okay, fall down these stairs 3 times. Okay, jump off this cliff. And they just do it. They didn't question anything. They just did it. Their passion, mainly, which is a wonderful thing about the Italian people, is that they live for this moment. The most important thing in Italy is what you and I are doing. I may forget who the hell you are after you're gone or whatever I did, but this moment is the most important moment. So when you have lunch with them or dinner with them or whatever, they put their entire being and personality into whatever they're doing. And that's what all those guys did. A lot of them didn't know anything about acting, but they got the script and they read it and they were wonderful, absolutely wonderful, because they were so willing to just jump in.
Yeah.
And get wet and find out how it goes. So in that sense, there was no being as cautious as probably they are here in America with the unions and so forth, you know. But over there, it didn't make any difference, except there was a couple of times when the director, Franco Giraldi, said to me, he said, Hunt, he said, no, I want you to walk, to ride the horse along the edge of this cliff here. And I said, Franco, I have to tell you something. In America, we have something called stunt people. And I said, the stuntmen do that kind of work. And I got to tell you, I can't do that. That I won't do. Because I said, if I fall off, you've lost the star of your film. And that's it, you know. And no, he was very, very nice about it. So anything that was really dangerous in that sense, you know, I just didn't do. Although, I mean, I did some pretty damn risky stuff, I must say. I really did.
Yeah.
One particular scene that I did, I loved the fight scene. I was crazy about the fight scene. And I knew nothing about it. Nothing about fighting or anything like that. But I got to Italy and I just did it. And the guy would walk in the door and I'd take him and I'd punch him in the mouth and I'd punch this one. And, you know, fight like crazy. Absolutely fight like crazy. And one time, at one particular scene, we were shooting at like, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I said, Frank, I'm a little bit tired. Can we maybe put this fight scene? He said, we have to finish it tonight, Hunt. So I said, okay. So it took place in a bakery. I opened the door, pulled this guy into the bakery, and punched the hell out of him. I mean, we have a hell of a fight going. And I end up and I put his face into a vat of dough, a huge vat of dough. And when we did all that, and I put his face in the dough, and as I lifted up, and there was blood coming out of his face.
Oh, wow.
So I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "We got to get to a hospital." We got to a hospital immediately, and showed them that I had broken his nose.
Oh.
And I'm standing in the hospital with the doctor, and the doctor said, "You know, your wrist is rather swollen." I said, "No, I'm fine. What about him? What about him?" He said, "Well, it's not broken. It's really a sprain." But he said, let me look at that hand." Turned out that I had broken one of my fingers.
Oh, wow.
And they had to put me in a cast, you know. And the next day, he was shooting this in Almeria, Spain. The next day, the Spanish paper came out and said, "American actor knocks out the champion kickboxer of Spain."
Oh.
This guy was the champion kickboxer of Spain. And he was just doing this, working as acting, just, because he wanted to do it. And he was a friend of the director. So the director said, "Oh, yeah, I got a fight scene. You come and do this fight scene with this American actor. You'll like him." And that's what happened. But anyway, I had to do, a lot of scenes after that with the cast, my hand in the cast and everything, and pretend, that it was all right.
Yeah.
But that was that thing that really happened. That came out in the paper in Madrid the next morning. I mean, it was really American
Must have
actor.
been interesting.
Oh my God, it was crazy.
It seems like it's all in if you want to be in a spaghetti western, eh?
Pardon?
Big or go home. Go big or go home.
Oh yeah, there's no. I mean, in that sense, there's no union. To say you've got to stop at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock,
Yeah.
or But they were always very considerate. Actors, all of them, and there were some wonderful professional actors as they hired. They were all very, very good and very professional and great fun to work with. I had a ball. I mean, I went there for 3 pictures and I ended up doing 20 films.
Wow.
I stayed there for 6.5 years.
That's like a
Yeah.
that's incredible.
That's in my biography.
I can't wait to read it.
Oh, well, I got a lot more to put in there yet.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was gonna ask, are you a fan of today's cinema?
I miss the movies where I could just talk like I'm talking to you now. You're a person, you're a character. I become involved, I care about you. I mean, all the films, that Meryl Streep does, she never does a film and that a character, there's a definite character there, and you care about them. And you have to care about the actors, and you don't care about the people. I mean, I've done 2 Batman movies and everything, and they don't. You don't really care about Batman. I mean, you care about him flying through the air and all that, but it's the intimacy. We've lost the intimacy, I think.
Right.
And I miss that a lot. I mean, also years ago, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and those actors were doing wonderful films where they played wonderful characters. And even Tom Cruise, The 4th of July is like one of my favorite movies of his, He's a damn good actor. But you don't get a chance to show that today because everybody wants everything splashed in their face.
For sure.
It's a shame. It really is. It's too bad. Because it began to feel like it was all very superficial.
Yeah.
Whereas before you'd go to see a movie and you'd come out of that movie and you'd start thinking about what that movie was trying to say. Like my film, The Two of Me is a film that you can say in one word. What is the film about? It's called self-acceptance. That's what my film is about. Being able to accept yourself. So in other words, there's something in the film that's it's saying something. It's not just doing, cinematography.
Right. Well, that was good. That was a better answer I could ever give. I kind of I can see where you're coming from in the sense that the messages aren't as clear anymore, and so some movies it's like there's no message at all, just for entertainment purposes.
No, absolutely, you're right. You're right.
I wanted to mention, even though kids my age, I'm 17 now, they might not know some of your films, but you are a very familiar face to pretty much everybody my age because your role in Spider-Man in 2001, I believe. I can't quote me on it. I was just wondering if you could take us back to those days and what was it like getting into the Spider-Man kind of career?
You're only 17?
I'm 17. Yeah, yeah.
My God.
And I'm just chasing my dream. I want to host a talk show, but it seems like everybody's trying to have a show and everybody's trying to do something, and there are people who want something and there are people who chase after something, and I just want to chase after this dream and learn about other people.
What do you really want to do, Devin? I mean, do you want to act, direct, or produce, or what?
Well, I mean, I have dabbled in a little bit of acting, and I do like it. I actually, during COVID, I wrote my own screenplay as well.
Good for you.
So, thank you. It was a challenge because it was my first time writing it and dealing with writer's block and trying to figure out an ending for it. But, I just take some time and forget about it, and then the ideas come to me, and I go back to it.
Absolutely. When you're driving the car, all of a sudden you say, "Oh, yeah, I think we'll do that. I think I'll do that." Whatever.
Right. Do you have any memories of being on set with Sam Raimi and I'm trying to think, what's the other one? Willem Dafoe. Do you remember being?
Oh God, yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful working with William. Absolutely, that was a good scene I did too, where I fire him. And the thing that was interesting is that one of the major scenes was a huge conference table. There were like 15 men around this, not 15, maybe 12 men. At the head of the table was Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
And I was the head of the company. I forget what the hell the company was called now. And I was firing Willem Dafoe. And I had a speech to give it to him. And, went on for quite a bit. And they had to get close-ups of all the other actors that were listening to the speech. So I had to give that speech, I don't know, 15 times. The same speech over and over, so that you get a close-up of him, get a close-up of him while I do the whole speech, get a close-up of him while I do the whole speech. This took, I don't know, about 4 or 5 hours, and finally, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and the director, oh God, I can't remember his name now, damn it.
Sam Raimi, I believe.
Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi. I said, Sam, I've been doing this same speech the same way for a long time now. I said, I have a strange feeling that this character has a little bit more humor in him. And I'd like to try something. He said, by all means, And so I added a little bit of humor to it when I fired him. I really looked him right in the eye, and I had kind of like a little smile in my eye, like you're fired, you motherfucker. You know what I mean? That's what I had in my mind. And the director, Sam, sat right down and watched me do it. After I finished it, he said, "That's it. Terrific. Print that one." But my point being is that I wanted to add something just a little different to it, instead of doing it the same way over and over and over and over and over.
Right.
And he was willing to do that. He really was, Wonderful man to work with. It's just as Joel Schumacher was when I worked with him. And I must say, I've never had any trouble with any directors that I've worked with,
Mm-hmm.
If you get an idea and you want to suggest something, none of them have ever given me any, well, no, we can't do that. We can't, no. This is only, by the way, this is just apple juice. Boring.
Did you have any other dreams?
No. Since I was
just
10
acting.
Since I was 10 years old.
Right.
I got into it. Mother drove us to Miami, Florida. My life was in Miami, Florida, which was one of the most glamorous places in America. And I sang on a radio station. And I sang Green Eyes. And I sang it in Spanish because Cuba was so close, And I won first prize, $25. And at that time, when you did radio shows, the audience was in the studio. And they applauded like crazy.
Right.
Heard that applause. I said to myself, I like that a lot. But then my mother took me to see a movie called Wuthering Heights with Laurence Olivier.
Okay.
And that I'll never forget. And I saw that on the screen. I said to my mother, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. What that man is doing.
Right.
That's what I've been doing, baby. I'm still doing it.
Absolutely.
Still doing it.
Do you have a message, or what is a piece of advice that you would give a young aspiring actor?
Passion. You've got to have passion. You've got to want it more than anything in the world.
Right.
Anything. And I gave up a lot in my life. I gave up a lot because I said, yes, I want the mansion. Yes, I want the Maserati. Yes, I want the Academy Award. Yes, I want all of that. I wanted it when I was 12, and I still want it to this day. I haven't lost that at all. I still want that Lamborghini. I still want that mansion. You got to have that kind of determination that you're willing to sacrifice anything for. But that's a lot. You're married.
Almost like changing your name, eh?
Pardon?
You said you have to want it so bad that you'd do anything for it, and you in a way you did. Changed your name, moved to Spain. That rhymes.
Well, I did. I gave up a lot of personal things in my life. I gave up because I wanted that. Nothing was going to interfere with that. Selfish, inconsiderate. Yeah, I still want it. I still want it. That's what you have to have. That's what you have to have. That passion, that determination. Don't take no for an answer.
Just keep pushing forward.
That's right.
And then the last thing that I do during interviews is kind of give my guest the floor, give you the spotlight. I know you told me earlier that you were writing a screenplay, but is there anything else that you kind of want to promote or talk about?
No, just that. I have a wonderful director, and it's a wonderful script. It's a very au courant subject about a transgender, and it's a very, very powerful script, and that's very, very powerful subject that's still in all the headlines now. I have a director who's really quite marvelous. And now if we can just get this goddamn pandemic thing over with and go down with our lives, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But we do have, thank God, we do have the, the new things that they're finding, which is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.